So I'm working on a project designed to help us stand firm in the face of what I think is a coming storm against the Christian faith in North America. As part of that, I've been interviewing people who have grown up as minorities in a hostile community, individuals from communist countries, Marxist countries, individuals who are Christians living in predominantly Muslim countries and Hindu countries. And by the way, as I do the interviews, I've probably done about 20 of them now. I'm learning so much, but I'm also, at times it's so heavy on my heart to hear what so many have been through. But the amazing thing is that in every single one of these interviews, I find the person I'm interviewing filled with joy. I mean, they're like the happiest people I know. So just yesterday, I interviewed Roy. I don't want to say his last name. Everything's out on the internet now. Roy is a church planter, disciple maker. I've known him for several years. He's in Chennai, India. It's on the west coast of India. It's a city of about 7 million people. Roy, by the way, is 41 years old. He's already planted 79 churches, if you can imagine that. And I've known Roy, and I've actually seen this on his body, so I didn't ask him to show me again yesterday. We were doing a Zoom interview. But he made reference to it. Some of Roy's knuckles are out of line. And he has gashes and knots all up both of his arms. You know why? They're defensive wounds. Because on multiple occasions, Roy has been assaulted, beaten for preaching the gospel. I did ask him yesterday, I said, so many times. He said, many times, I can't count. He's been in prison many times. This is in India. He began to tell me some of his story. I don't even want to go into all of it. Actually, I think I will at some point. His sister was kidnapped about 12 years ago, and I can't go into all the details. You don't want me to. But for about a year, they couldn't find her. When she finally came back, by the way, she was pregnant. And they said, we don't end anybody's life. We don't end anybody's life. So she gave birth. She's actually now a children's minister in the group of churches they serve. But as Roy was talking, I said to him, look, I mean, he doesn't even have full use of his hands, a 41-year-old man. I said, but Roy, look how happy you are. Like he's smiling and grinning and laughing the whole time. And he says, it's such a joy to get to be like Jesus. There's an amazing thing that comes from gratitude, that he's grateful, as are so many of the others I've interviewed, grateful that God would share himself with them. And it makes me just remember how important it is that we learn gratitude. Now, the Bible connects gratitude, thanksgiving, if you will, to joy and worship. In fact, the progression is something like this. We express thanks to God in worship, and it produces joy. Here's just one text out of Psalm 95, where thanksgiving and worship come together. And the opposite is also true, which is ingratitude produces misery. I just want to make sure you hear that. Ingratitude in your heart will produce misery. So Paul builds an entire theology on this in Romans chapter 1. At the end of Romans chapter 1, Paul lists all the crimes and misdemeanors that humans can be guilty of. It's a very long list of sins, rebellious sins. But he describes, beginning at verse 21, how you got to those sins. And I want you to notice, he says, so I didn't put the whole text up here, but in verse 18, Paul says, look, everybody ought to know there's a God. That's not rocket science. God's fingerprints are all over the universe. So then he says, beginning at verse 21, that you don't have an excuse not to know God. So he says, speaking about the pagans around him, he says, these pagans, though they knew God, they didn't glorify him. And notice this, they did not say thank you. And the fact that they were ungrateful led to all the sins that he concludes the chapter with. So he says, they start out by being ungrateful. From here, their thinking becomes futile. After futility becomes darkened hearts. And he says, though they think they're wise, they're nothing but fools. He keeps going, verse 24. Because they are fools, God gave them over to the desires of their hearts. What did they do? They degrade their bodies. So he's about to talk about sexual sin in this text. And he says they're degrading their bodies, and what happens? They exchange the truth about God for a lie. Where did it all start? Where did it start? Where did it start in this text? He says it started when they were ungrateful.
Hey, I'm John.
And I'm Abby, and we are the hosts of Boulevard Online.
Hey, thanks for watching this video today. If you enjoyed it, give us a big thumbs up by hitting the subscribe button right down below.
The full message that this clip is from is linked right here, or if you'd like to watch some other videos, you can click right here.
Hey, if you'd like to find out more about North Boulevard, go to northboulevard.com. Until next time, be blessed.
And don't forget to be a blessing.